bisschen Nageln.
And we're back. And who are we? Oh, you know all too well by now. We're KTCR, the one and only. Kill the Cat Radio. I'm Matthew Diabate, your host with the most. And we're here to satisfy some curiosity. And who is our very special guest this week? His name is Colin Dodds. Family man, New England born. And New York City made a man out of him. But more importantly, he's what I refer to as the hardest working writer in show business. Here's what I mean. A lot of writers I know complain about not having enough time to write. Some complain about having too much work in the real world to do. Gotta make that money, right? Others complain about bad relationships, no inspiration, depression, etc., etc., etc. Not Mr. Colin Dodds. He's got a lovely wife, 2 small children, a full-time job, and he's written over 8 novels, many screenplays, several TV pitches. And just recently, he released his new book of digital aphorisms called Forget This Good Thing I Just Said. He is the definition of a workhorse, and someone we all can learn from and be inspired by. So, without further ado, let's take it away now. Live from Kill the Cat Studios here in beautiful Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Let's drop it in.
Great.
I know, it's kind of loose, like, this is like a poor man's Joe Rogan kind of...
Man, can I tell you something? I had a job once where I produced podcasts, and I produced them.
Oh, shit.
I produced them for Charles Schwab, the big bank.
Yeah.
And we did it out of like a conference room. So it's all.
Well, these days, that's why everybody has these things, it's like...
the technology is there.
Well, we didn't have that. Imagine trying to do this like in the 90s or whatever. We didn't really have this kind of stuff. We'd have to do 4 tracks and all this kind of thing, or even early zeros. But now when you have these like handy Zooms...
Oh, man, those things are crazy.
Genius.
Yeah.
And I'll be taking this to France, too, to get some of my painters. And
oh, that's fantastic.
But anyway, it's great to have finally another writer over here.
Great to be here.
Welcome again. I'm glad I get you in the Kill the Cat Radio things. You see my little sign saying that we're on the air, so this is kind of fun. It's my goofy little thing. But Colin Dodds, welcome over.
Thank you.
Over to the party here. Now, as I introduced you already in the intro, recorded previously, you're the hardest working man in the writing business, as far as that's how I tag you.
Well, that's how I feel some days, I'll tell you that.
Introduce yourself a little bit.
Sure.
Tell the audience who you are.
My name is Colin Dodds. I am a writer. I am currently 44 years old. I live in South Brooklyn. I have a lovely wife and 2 kids.
Lovely wife.
Yes.
Beautiful children.
Yes.
He's a breeder, guys. This happened.
And I've written 8 novels.
8 full fiction novels.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've written about as many books of poetry. I've written 4 or 5 screenplays. And I've been writing constantly since I was 14 years old. So
I just can't believe how much you could fit in. There's so many writers who, and I include myself in the lazy category, that just, have all these descriptions about why they can't write something or writer's block. You don't have that.
Well, I think when I was younger, I had writer's block, and I used to think of writing as something where you had to, light the candles and put on the right music and everything else. And then I got a job as a journalist where I worked for about 4 years, and I was on a daily deadline. And
what journal? Where did you work in journal? I don't remember us talking about that.
This was between 2001 and 2005 or 2004 and 2000.
In New York here?
Yep, in New York. I was up in Midtown. It was trade journalism, writing about the mutual fund industry, and it was for a publication that's since been purchased by the Financial Times.
Right.
And so that was a daily deadline. And so every day I had to produce somewhere between 600 and 900 words. And so it really demystified...
And edit it and get it in and all that.
I had to deliver it by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And so it really demystified the process. It was less something where I had to throw myself into a dervish-like trance and more something where I had to move my fingers or, get thrown out of my apartment.
Yeah, because if you didn't type, then you don't get paid, and you don't get paid, then
everything falls apart. You're done.
And this is before you were married, or were you with your wife at the time? Or?
No. I met my wife in 2010. No, sorry, 2007.
So it was just you on your own.
Oh yeah,
bachelor life.
I was over on South 6th Street under the bridge.
Oh right, I remember that place. Yeah, you were over there.
I was there for 13 years. Yeah.
Jeez, and then you're cruising around, bebopping around, learning that writing isn't a mystery.
Kind of, I mean, I think writing well is a mystery.
Yeah.
The things that make it interesting or that make it worth doing or sharing, those are all mysteries. But the actual, I mean, it was one less thing in my way.
Right.
And that's the thing is as you get older, you realize that there's a million and two things that can stand in your way.
So, but when you started, you say you've been writing since you were 14 years old.
Yep.
Did you write even before that, like when you were like a kid, like?
I did. I'd write little short stories and stuff, or I'd write love poems to girls and stuff like that.
Aww.
But when I was about 14,
back when it worked.
It didn't work.
It didn't work even then?
It really didn't work. Man.
Maybe.
No.
It certainly doesn't work now. Now you're a creep if you do that.
I think I was
a bummer.
I was a creep then too. I'm trying to think if it ever worked.
Yeah.
No, it never worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it seemed like it would work.
Right.
Yeah.
You had the troubadour spirit.
Yeah. Here's there's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
I see her. Here's something beautiful in myself that I'd like to share, and then she crumples it up and gets the 7th grade version of a restraining order against you.
Exactly. She ruins you on with gossip on the playground. This is pre-Twitter.
Exactly.
Yeah, slander. That sort of thing. So you started writing, and so you can remember writing these early things in short stories. Did you even have a plan? Like, what were when did you realize that moment where you're like, hey, wait a minute? Like, I'm sure you were a reader growing up.
Oh, sure. I would say I really noticed it when it sounds strange, but when I was 7.
Yeah.
When I was 7, I didn't get along very well in school, and I wrote a story. It was a very cliche story in hindsight, but it was, it was about a Godzilla type monster who's tearing up the city, and it turns out if somebody was a little nice to the monster, he wouldn't tear up the city. So, it's that kind of.
But at least it was beginning, middle, and end.
Oh yeah, it had a structure. I was incredibly satisfied with it. I think I got like a check minus because my handwriting was so bad. Yeah. But at that point, I think I was like, if astronaut baseball player doesn't work out, then maybe this writing thing.
Because you want to be an astronaut, you want to be a baseball player. I could see you as a baseball player. And then a football player. Oh yeah, you played ball though, right?
Yep.
Didn't you?
Yeah, I played. Yeah. Well, I played in high school, but I was good. I was on varsity and everything. And then when I was 14, I was playing football, and I was like, man, I was very unhappy.
Okay.
And I was.
Did you like the competitive spirit and all that? Like,
I loved football. I loved playing football. I loved.
It's a physical.
I loved hitting people. I loved that. Yeah, it was just great.
From Worcester.
Yeah. And also you're young, you're full of frustration.
Massachusetts people, I'm from Rhode Island.
Yeah, they're still angry, I think.
They're born with anger.
A dozen Super Bowls is not going to calm anybody down.
Yeah.
So it's, but I was like angry, and it was great. You just hit people, and it was fun. And then, but then I went up to varsity, and I was one of only 2 sophomores on the varsity team. So I was with guys I didn't know, and they weren't, and also a lot of football is practice.
Right.
And practice is really boring. It's boring and painful. It's not actual football.
So you were turned off.
And I just got really depressed. I almost flunked out of high school. I quit football. I had the coach chasing me down in the hall. Man, it was, and that's when
Bad kids. Bad children.
What are you going to do?
Yeah,
it's hard to,
Fuck school.
Some people are hard to manage, and I think I was one of them.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So that's when I really started writing, to the point where I was writing like every day. I was constantly writing. Yeah.
So it was an everyday process even
then. Yep.
So when you get to be like 20, how many short stories you got in the bag by this point?
Well, I think it's also you're changing and growing so fast at that point that you don't really look back on your work. You're not trying to collect it.
You didn't collect it?
I'm sure it's around. It's in a box somewhere, but I certainly wouldn't lead with it.
No.
And it's,
I hear you on that one.
But, I had a lot of short stories. I had a lot of poems. I had, I may have written, I think I wrote a play or 2. And so.
By the time you were 20.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the time I was 20, because I wrote a lot in college. because that's another thing is writing came so easy to me that if I had like a heavy work schedule in college, I could just pepper in a couple writing classes and it would give me the time because I was going to write anyway.
You were going to write anyway, so you might as well get the good grades and then do the thing. Because you ended up going to college.
Yep. Yeah, I went to the new school.
You flunked out of school. Wait, you went to the new school?
Yep. Well, back then they accepted everybody.
I didn't know this. I didn't know you went to the new school because that's like, that's pretty fucking fancy. That's a fancy school, right?
I think now it is. I think back then they accepted 90% of the people who applied.
Really?
I applied on like August 5th, and I started school on August 25th.
Oh my God!
That's the kind of school it was. Yeah.
What? Now, were you at this stage?
I was 19 at that point.
You're 44 now.
Yep.
So we're peers.
Yep.
Like colleagues, peers, same age. I'm 44. Wow. So this is 24 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, 25, right? Yeah. So
at least you had a family, though. Smart man. I gotta get one of those. But yeah. Sorry. So you're there. You go back to college and you're peppered in these writing classes. Now, when did you go? Hey, I'm going to graduate to the novel because that's a huge.
Yeah, well,
from the short stories and fucking around, these kind of things.
Yeah, at that point I was writing short stories, but more than that, I was mostly writing a lot of poems. And when I left school, I think I did my final project in poetry. Yeah. And then I hosted a couple poetry reading series on the Lower East Side.
Shit.
Yeah, for about...
What place was it at?
It was a place called Bullet Space Gallery, which might be there. It's on East 3rd Street over by Gathering of the Tribes Gallery. And then there was also a Spanish restaurant called Latin in Manhattan, where I used to... I hosted a reading. At some point... I think I was hosting 3 separate readings because
that's pretty cool though. That gets you kind of involved with other writers.
It does, yeah. We had like a little community, which for lack of a better word, a little group of people who showed up regularly, and then people would drop in and out. And we had friends in the neighborhood. One guy who was always there, who I really liked, was a guy named John Farris. I don't know. He was a presence on the Lower East Side, right? And he was an older guy.
You mean this is when artists still lived in New York?
Yeah, I know. Let me close your eyes and let me tell you a tale.
Right, especially after COVID, yeah.
Oh, so anyway, I know.
Yeah. So John Farris,
and and I was comfortable in front of a crowd, so I was sort of the de facto MC, and so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I did that for a while, and then
you were focusing on poetry at this point.
Yep.
Because you've been. I mean, when I met you, you're like, well, actually, you were already a novelist by that point, but. You had all these poems. I mean,
Yeah. That's always been, up until very recently, that's been a very big part of my life. Yeah.
Wow.
And
so that was where you started. So you didn't hit the novel yet. You didn't get there.
No, I didn't write my first novel until 2003. So I was 26 years old.
I'm about to say, yeah.
Yeah. And that was a situation. That was a couple of things. I think poetry is something that it's really great. It's really easy to be enamored with, and it's really easy to become disenchanted with. And
right. So like at first it's great. I remember, like just loving poetry. Funny, you and I both kind of came up the same way. Just loving that side of things.
Yeah,
being a poet was. It's kind of dope.
It was like the highest order of
early 90s, right? It was kind of like that the poetry, that
sure
espresso and the whole thing. And
they had a poetry stage at Lollapalooza.
Yeah, and it was really making a comeback. Spoken word, all that kind of thing. Hip hop was coming out, and it was pretty hip to be. People say something now, and people kind of laugh.
Oh, it's yeah.
It's weird, but back then it was still.
Yeah, no, I've lost the esteem of professional colleagues by letting it slip that I was a poet. I've seen their face drop. I've seen them go all steely and turn away from me. Yeah.
Or what is that?
What is that? Is this? Yeah.
Even though it's the most ancient of all right?
Of all forms of expression. Yeah.
But these are plebeians we're dealing with here. You know what I mean? Philistines.
We're in a post.
What are we gonna do here? Post-intellectual universe.
Post-literate. Yeah.
Amen on that. Yeah. But in a bad way. But yeah, sorry. So you're doing this. You're getting into it now. What was the first book called?
The first book I wrote was called Fun's Monsters.
Fun's Monsters.
Yep. And it was like, fun. It had a couple different versions, fun and its monsters.
Oh.
The Monsters of Fun. I don't know.
It's like a Polyneth novel. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't roll off the tongue. Anyway, this is kind of what they call what do they call it? Like a desk drawer novel.
Oh, you mean the one you write and then you just don't show anybody forever?
Kind of. And it's a fun book. It's about a couple guys who go upstate and they get involved in a small town feud.
Yeah.
And it has horrific results. One of them kills somebody, another one is killed, and it's I liked it, and it was it was the only novel with which I lived even a scintilla of the writer's dream.
What do you mean? Like what?
I wrote this book. I had an agent for it before I finished. Ooh. The agent takes me out to lunch, tells me I'm a genius.
Wow.
Tells me the book is incredible. We're all going to be,
26 years old.
Wealthy.
Here we go.
Yeah. And then about 8 months later, they will not return a phone call.
Are you fucking kidding me? What did he do with it? Did he run off with it or something? Or?
No, he failed to sell it.
He was like, where did you find this guy?
I, at the time, was collaborating with an illustrator who worked at Penguin Putnam when it was Penguin Putnam.
And there were any illustrations in this book as well?
No. Okay, anyway, and his boss was married to an agent.
Okay.
And so that's how it happened. Yeah.
So it's all connections.
It's all connections, but had the connections, and yeah. So anyway, the book did not sell, did not go anywhere. And
there it was.
And
you finished it though.
Yeah, I finished it. Yeah, and that was and even then, at that young age, my great terror was that I would have an unfinished book. Ooh. And so I was like, I can't live with that on my neck.
No.
So
absolutely not.
I took a big piece of butcher paper, and I spread it across my desk, and I taped down the edges so that my whole desk was covered with it, and I drew a big arc. A big semicircle across, and I put, what I want to happen at the end, where I want to start, and then I started putting little notches on the arch, like where certain things happen that I want to happen.
This is fucking great advice, by the way, for any kind of writer out there who's trying to struggle with this. That is a fact. I've never heard it done that way.
So the structure it supported me. Like it's very hard to sustain your attention. And I say, oh, well, what comes next? Well, I could look at that and I would know what comes next. I know. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Jesus. Well, yeah, go ahead. That's great. That's just so you can see that visual. Some people got note cards or maybe like what is it, the foam boards or whatever.
Oh, sure.
You got this butcher paper on this desk.
Yep, and that's
and semicircle, and it's like, here we go, guys.
It's all simple. What needs to happen, and then I can sit down. I can get excited. I can go, little digressions here and there, and get from beginning to the end. And it was a great process. And
did you have like a word quota for the day?
It's funny because I do that and I don't do it. What I do is I'll do it by the month. I'll have targets for the month.
No kidding.
And so that way, if I fuck up a couple days, I just got to buckle down another couple days.
You don't freak out. You don't have a manic depression problem about it.
It's just, but yeah, when I'm working on something, my wife would tell you I'm always behind. I'm sitting there, grinding my teeth, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I'm behind on the book."
And then she's like, "That's your major problem. That's your major malfunction."
Well, but she's been through it so many times. She's like, "Yeah, sure, you're behind on the book." Because then, yeah, oh, she's great. Yeah,
I can't even believe it. Anyone who marries a writer or falls in love with a writer, you gotta give their hat. You gotta tip their hat to them because it's not a glamorous.
No,
you might as well be dealing with schizophrenic or something. You know what I mean? Like just the guy's got characters on his mind that don't exist. Mm-hmm. And he's churning about it.
He's mad about deadlines that don't exist.
That don't exist.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Okay, honey, no problem."
I get all worked up about it, and then to make fun of myself, I'll pull my phone out of my pocket and I'll scream into the phone like, "I'll get you the poem soon."
Yeah, right.
Because no one cares.
No one cares. It's funny. But that's an interesting thing too, just for any would-be writers especially. It's like having that kind of hearing other writers talk about it. I remember coming up and there was this like almost competition amongst other writers, which I've never understood, and we never had that. But there'd be other people coming up, friends of mine who also wrote, and there was all these And some of them were from the Bukowski school, you know, where it's like, don't talk to other writers. We're all the same flies on one piece of shit.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah.
There's a whole philosophy, you know what I mean, where it's like, let's not...
It does get... I mean, it's just natural to be competitive.
Competitive is one thing, but like, you know, don't talk about your secrets. The guitar players are like that, too. Like, they won't tell you about the capo or the alternative tuning.
Okay.
That's why their songs sound so different, even though they're playing the same chords as you.
Huh.
They won't tell you these things. That's why I think with writing and that getting you to talk about your process. So it's like a monthly thing. So you say, all right, I want a certain... Like, how long, like, in advance would you say that you're getting to your novel? Like, would you go... like, how many months should it take you to write a rough draft complete?
I'm trying to think. The last one that I wrote...
Yeah. I know it's all different, but...
Yeah, I started... The last novel that I wrote, I started in December of 19 when I kind of marked out the arch of what was going to happen. And then I spent a month. I wrote 10,000 words, and then I had a dream, and I realized I was going about it all wrong. I had to get rid of the 10,000 words and start over.
Shit. Yep, a dream.
Yeah, because I was like, but wait a sec. You know, I was like, it wasn't like it upset me. It was just like, this is a much better way to tell the story.
You learned that you got in the car and realized, wait a minute. I'm going down the wrong freeway.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to think, actually. So that one, I started in December. I finished it. It took 6 months, I think. All told, it took about 6 maybe 7 months.
But you don't have like your own, you don't have like, okay, this needs to be done like in 3 months, or I need a draft by this. It's just how it goes? There
is a time element. And the time element is this, that I get sick of it and I start to hate it and I can't look at my own word.
See,
my own words.
There's another one.
Yeah.
Everybody's got, you know.
There is a curtain call and it's disgust.
Right.
And once that disgust really settles in, then you're done because you can't go back to it.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, again, like where they say, oh, put the manuscript away, work on something else, and then go back to it. Maybe you can get more jazzed about it at another time.
Yeah, because there's always multiple drafts that need to be done.
Right.
But I need in-between drafts anywhere between 3 months and 3 weeks or something, depending.
Okay. Yeah. So in between, so you're saying like you can do a first draft of a novel in 3 weeks?
No. In about 6 or 7 months.
Oh, okay.
And then I need a break of 3 weeks to 3 months before I go for another draft of it.
Oh.
Before
During that time, do you start the next one?
No, not usually. I like
cheat on the muses.
Not that. I like to. I guess I like to have little discrete affairs. Okay. So I'll work on. Yeah, I'll work on different projects. You know, I'll work on different kinds of projects. Very rarely is it a novel and then a novel.
Yeah.
So this one was a novel, and I wrote a sitcom pilot.
Wow.
Yeah, the disgust hit really quick on that one, but I got through it, and now it's for other people to be disgusted by.
This is the last book that you wrote?
Yep. So I finished the last book, I guess, a month before my son was born.
Okay.
I finished the first draft, and then I took a month. I wrote the sitcom pilot, and then my son was born, and then I did a second draft. And then I did, what's it called? And then I really started to work on the aphorisms.
Yeah, so we're going back to the first book. When you first traveled into that, you didn't even know the terrain that you were going into.
Well, I'd read a lot of novels. Yeah, so I mean...
You've never been that high on the mountain, though.
Yeah, but again, I was... It didn't see... It wasn't something that was like mystified, you know? It was like, what is a book? Yeah. It's a bunch of words in between two covers. Right. If you can get the words on the page and you can get the covers around the pages, then you have a book.
Right. So gentlemen, you need to listen to this man right now, okay? Like, this is all you would-be writers out there or frustrated. Just listen to this man right now, right?
What's going to make it good? That's almost out of your hands. You look at the great novelists who have ever lived, and most of them, they have, I don't know, maybe 3 books that are good.
Yeah, how many? Yeah, right.
And so it's not like you're really good at it and you can do it anytime you want. It's really not up to you.
Yeah, like anyways, like, you know, Sun Also Rises, great fucking book, right? And then again, this is my opinion. Farewell to Arms, not a good book. All right,
and people would disagree with you.
People would be like, "Fuck, Sun Also Rises." Whatever. Yeah. I think I have the right opinion on this because I'm an asshole. And then, you know, you get to Fruin and Bow Tools after what he wrote nonfiction, and then, you know, then he did a couple other things and some short stories. Then you get Fruin and Bow Tools. He writes it when he's 44. He's our age, pretty much, you know. And it's a masterpiece, right? It's a goddamn masterpiece. And what does he really do after that? I mean, I guess Old Man in the Sea is.
Yeah. Well, it's an argument against saying, oh, one day when I have enough money or I have enough space or my life is more settled and I've paid off the mortgage, then I'm going to write the book. That's not really how it works.
Right.
That's the thing is you have a moment. It's a very precise moment. And
God, you're so accurate on this.
It's not going to last. And
it doesn't last.
No.
And then life just piles all this other shit on you.
It fills in.
But then you're at 24 or 26, right? When you're going through all this, when you got dropped or when the person dropped you,
yeah,
or when the person dropped the ball.
Hey,
where did you go from there? What did you do from there? I mean, you must have been,
I was angry. I wrote another novel that opens with the line, "I want you to start sucking my dick."
Wow! And what book was this called?
The Last Bad Job.
Last Bad Job. I remember reading that one.
And that one's for sale. That one.
Is this the first one? Wait, is this the first book that's for sale in your catalog?
That's right. That's my earliest work. That's
oeuvre.
Yep.
In the oeuvre. And then the first line is, "I want you to start sucking my dick."
Yes.
So it's for kids.
It is. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for my kids to read it. Yeah. Oh, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. So anyway, I wrote that, and it's a wild book.
Just pure anger.
Oh, the world ends, and the main character finishes the book over the remains of the last library in Alaska, and it's an angry rager. It's a real fun.
Last Bad Job.
It's a lot of fun.
You're the king of good titles, I have to say as well.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
We're going over these ones. Did you include in the 8 that you said at the beginning in the opening here? Did you include that first one, the Fun's Adventure?
Yeah, Fun's Monsters. Yeah.
So you put Fun's Monsters. You're putting that in your.
I wrote it
in the list.
I say these are the books I wrote.
We're at number 2 now.
This is number 2. Yeah.
And then from the anger book.
Yep.
What did you? I think you self-published that one.
So what happened with that? Because I finished.
What year was this?
I finished that in 2006.
Because now I'm going. Oh, this is where I met Colin Dodds.
Yeah.
This is where I first became aware of you.
So that book
on a writer scene in Williamsburg.
Because that's about when we met. Was 06, 07.
05.
Okay. Yep.
So, and I was just getting my feet wet.
Mm-hmm. I remember we met over at that cafe on North 6 in Bedford.
What cafe was it? The Blackbird Parlor? No.
I think since then it's been at least 13 different cafes. So I don't know.
We met at a cafe, not a bar?
I think it was a cafe. I remember I was sitting there.
That is insane.
Drinking a cup of coffee, and I was marking up a manuscript. And you said, "You're a writer," and I said,
"Yep."
There,
I go after everybody who has manuscripts. I start talking.
That's great, man.
Immediately. So that's okay. Because I remember, and then you're like, "Oh," and you tried Last Bad Job with the legit agencies or trying to get some representation.
I got an agent.
From the Last Bad Job.
For the Last Bad Job.
So he was number 2.
Agent number 2. Very excited. Let's do this. Can't wait. Great. Month later, I call. Phone's disconnected. Years later.
This is going crazy.
Years later, I find out the guy died.
Oh.
The guy died. Like immediately. Like it was like within weeks of getting the book. He died.
This is horrific. This is just bad luck after bad luck here. This is just, yeah.
So I tried a couple things with that book. What did I do? I sent it off to some famous people.
Okay.
To try to get a blurb.
Did you know the famous people?
No.
Okay.
Just, put it in the mail. Nice handwritten, not handwritten, but a nice personalized letter.
Can you divulge some of these famous people that you tried to get a hold of?
Yeah. Dennis Johnson.
Okay, know him.
And he
not
wrote
personally.
No, but he wrote me back a very nice letter.
No shit.
In which he was extremely clear that he will not read or blurb my book.
Okay.
But we wrote back. A lot of credit to him. A lot of credit. And
yeah.
And then the big one was Norman Mailer wrote me back.
Get the fuck out of here.
And he read the book. And he wrote me a 2-page letter, mostly full of admonishments.
Norman Mailer read your book.
Yes.
Holy.
I got this thing.
We've never talked about this. This is crazy. I'm so happy to have a podcast now because I can learn things about my friends.
Yeah, and he wrote me this long letter. It was 2 pages of admonishments from which I could extract, being a writer and a close reader, 2 lines of praise, which I then appended to all my future self-promotional nonsense.
So he was like, was he criticizing your book? Or
he was. Yeah, he was.
So he just went on like a whole rant, like, what the fuck is this going on here?
It was a long one, yeah. But he also said some nice things about it. So
I cannot, but this is fantastic.
So that was just, and we corresponded a few times after that, and
holy shit.
Yeah.
Life stabbing mailer, man.
I know. But now you tell people about, but now you tell people about it, and they're like, "Who?" Norman Mailer is he's kind of.
If someone says that, you should just end the conversation immediately. Like,
I recently did a reading.
Yeah.
And that's in my bio.
Yeah.
And the person who was reading my bio paused because they weren't sure how to pronounce mailer.
Okay, see, this is where we're. I don't know if it's like.
And so I think some of that is just he's fallen out of fashion.
Well, there's fat. All right, there's fallen out of fashion. There's that, but there's also like and again, not to get completely off like talking about your oeuvre, it's like, is it our fault? Is there just not enough good writers out there? Is it our fault that we're so post-literary or post-literate?
Well, I think a big thing, a lot of it's technology. A lot of it is the ability to communicate.
Well, you can read on a Kindle, people, right?
Yeah, you can, but you can also, it's 2 things. One is that with modern technology, it's easier to type than it is to think.
Okay.
So the written word has been devalued by its overuse, and by the ways that it's used. And at the same time, visual means are creeping in and stealing some of the utility of the word.
Okay.
You look at how young people communicate with emojis and GIFs and things like that.
Okay.
And at the same time,
letter writing has been dead for.
Yeah.
Someone gets a letter, you're like, wow, it's either from the police, department or.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I think it's a generational advantage. If you're a young person, technology is in your corner. It's going to help you get a job. It's how you compete with older, more established people.
Right.
So that its adoption among smart young people is close to 100%.
In the sense of like the adoption of the technology, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, because our particular generation came from analog to digital.
And
we're the last generation to go from analog to digital. So still remember analog and then move to digital. And then have to figure out how to balance that.
And we thought for a while it was optional.
Right.
It's not optional.
Right. And now, you cannot not be that. Like, you can't be, I guess you could be a Luddite, I suppose, but maybe there are, I know a couple painters.
Yeah, no, I wrote a book where the main character is what's called a Luddite, which is somebody who goes back to like 1989. They have VCRs.
I love that. That's another great. Yeah, that's another fucking great one.
Yeah.
So because I'm also thinking just about the Norman Mailer thing too. Is also the universities let us down. I mean, what are they learning right now? I mean, who are we? Like I even hear that Shakespeare's not even taught in schools anymore.
I don't know. I think we're coming out of something that seems like it was forever, but it was actually a one-time thing. Which was the mass adoption of literacy and the enshrinement of literacy as a cardinal moral and intellectual virtue.
We don't have that anymore.
I feel like it's fading, but I feel like it was something very specific to come out in the 20th century. The post-war boom with the GI Bill.
A well-learned person. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Where it was tied up with your status was that you were intelligent and well-read. And I think a lot of that's been washed away by just money. I think we are seeing the real destructive backside of money.
So, money's always ruined everything. Since the beginning of time, right? And, if you look at literacy rates, for instance, I was looking that up, 85% of the world 100 years ago was illiterate in their language, writing and reading. Now there's only 15% of the world that's illiterate.
Yeah.
Like, truly illiterate.
Sure.
And you go, and then if you look at technology and you say, wow, we have... all right, so let's say you couldn't get to the library, right? You had to take the bus, you didn't want to pay the bus fare. Now, on your phone, you can pretty much look up and read whatever the hell you want.
I know.
The history of time, and yet making it more.
But I feel like that gives people.
I think they take it for granted.
I think it's a little bit of an illusion. Like, why do I need to learn anything if it's all on my smartphone? All that information is somewhere. I just have to go get it. Why would I have to learn it? Why would I have to know it?
Why would you go get it?
Why would I have to think about it?
Yeah.
If I can just access it and then forget about it and get back to...
Well, remember those old encyclopedias? Remember the Encyclopedia Britannica or the other ones you get on mail order stuff?
Yeah.
I had a memory the other day. I remember I would read those, but I would read them like Choose Your Own Adventure books because I'd just pick a topic and it would say see also. And then I would just go get the other one.
Yeah.
And they were cheap, right? I mean, I guess you can do that with Google now, so you can just kind of, if you're reading, or no, Wikipedia, you can do the same thing with Wikipedia. You can just go to another.
Yeah, but I think that there's a real blunting of curiosity. Yeah. Because you had the feeling that you were finding something out, and the internet gives you more of a sense of things having been found out.
And what's really frightening is that when you do get people into a challenge moment in the sense of basically just saying, that's inaccurate. You know, like someone said, and this is again total non sequitur, but also kind of speaks to what we're talking about. I heard someone actually say, I said somebody looked nice, like someone's wife looked nice, not in a creepy way, just a bartender way.
Sure.
I said, hey, that's a great dress, and she's like, well, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I kind of like him, and I said something like, you could just say thanks. You know? Yeah. And she's like, actually, these days we don't have to say anything anymore. And I said, wait, what? Wait, when did that end? When did complimentary behavior end? And I believe you call that manners. And they're like, well, it's actually oppression to women.
Oh, okay.
And then her husband chimed in, and you can guess these guys' ages. Yes, 25. Her husband chimed in and says, well, you know, times have changed. We're not throwing women into volcanoes anymore. And like, you know, there's a huge jump between.
Listen, I don't know what to tell you.
The 1950s and the days when men used to throw women into volcanoes. I think there's a huge gap of societal events that have occurred between. Suffrage. Can we throw that in? You know what I mean? Like, come on, let's get that in there. But I think you're right. Like, there's a huge thing of knowing or believing you know so much, and yet. If you just scratch the surface or have an intellectual challenge, you know nothing.
Well, you have access to it all. You know, you think of your phone as like a prosthesis for your mind, but actually information only exists if you think about it. It's, you know...
You got to put it in there.
You got to put it in. You have to, let it play with the other information. It's not enough to just have access to it. Yeah.
It's unbelievable, but I digress.
Sure.
That's another podcast about the disillusionment of modern culture. But so you try all the stuff. The guy dies.
I tried Norman Mailer, and that goes about as well as it could, and it still kind of doesn't go anywhere. Meanwhile, I'm working on another novel. Okay. I say, okay, well, because it doesn't go as well as it could, because as well as it could would be like Norman Mailer saying, oh, my friend, the publisher, will now publish your book and send the money. He was not. So, but I sent him the next book.
Which was?
What Smiled at Him. Okay, and right. What Smiled at Him is it's a really fun book. It's a really good book. It's my biggest failure as a book.
Now, when you say failure,
I think I mean mostly commercially. I made some giant mistakes when I put the book out, and
you moved from stopping trying, because each of these books, Last Bad Job specifically, you self-published.
Well, let's back up a little here. Okay. So, Last Bad Job I finished in 2006. What Smiled at Him I finished in 2007. I didn't publish any of these books until 2011. So that's when I started self-publishing. So there.
So you were trying to, because where did Another Broken Wizard come in?
Another Broken Wizard.
That was my first meeting with you, like learning about your writing.
That's when I hit a bit of a crisis. Okay. And I finished that book. That book is probably the most personal book I've ever written.
Super sad book. Awesome book.
Thank you. It's very important to me. Very sad. Yeah. I wrote it after
the way it ends. I'm just like, what the fuck?
I know.
You're just like, there's an emptiness there, which I think books should have that.
And that's where it came out of. It came out of my best friend from childhood being killed, and so it was. The book is about Worcester, Mass. It's about him. It's about my relationship with the place. It's about it's really like my whole the whole first part of my life is in that book.
Yeah, wow.
And I was really proud of how it came out.
Yeah.
And then I went looking for an agent, and I got nowhere.
So Another Broken Wizard, no agents anywhere.
No agents, no response.
What Smiled at Him? Any play on that?
I finished that right after my friend was killed. And so I finished, I had like basically a week left to go, and then I stopped because he died, and then I just had to put the finishing touches on. And the fact of the matter is, it sucks to go out and sell a book, and your heart has to be in it. My heart wasn't in it, and I think I go back in my emails from then, and my cover letter's like, guys, it's like, guys,
what's going on?
Here's a book.
I don't give a fuck.
It's a book. You can read it or don't.
I don't know.
I know. I
drink my pee.
I know. I just didn't have that chirpy self-promotional thing that you need.
I have that. It's terrible.
It's great to make your acquaintance, and I love the work that you did on this book, and I really think that you'd be the right agent for
Yeah.
And I just didn't have that. Yeah. And so I did a shit job getting it out there. And whatever. I mean, whatever, you know. So in the meanwhile, but then I started writing this book, Another Broken Wizard.
Yeah.
And I was extremely proud of it. And it was the best at that time. You know, I wouldn't have batted an eye when I said that's the best thing I've ever done.
Right.
And
but you still have yet to go into the self-publishing, because that's something
that's
I
right.
want to touch with you, because
so I'll go quickly. I went from It was 2009. Finished the book. Couldn't get a nibble, a bite, anything. Tried.
What's Smiled at Him?
Yeah, no, for Another Broken Wizard.
Okay, cool.
And that one I went really hard.
What year?
This was 2009. About 2009 is really when it was all happening. Couldn't find an agent, tried small publishers, tried to work every angle, went out to parties, mingled, this, that, the other.
Shit.
Yeah, and then I even printed up a few copies and sent them out to local outlets to get reviewed. And I got reviews for an unpublished book. I mean, people responded to it.
Okay, well that's positive.
Yeah. One magazine out of Boston, one out of Worcester. They wrote reviews of it, and I still was nowhere. I was absolutely nowhere. So then we get to 2011. I'm thinking about, like, what the hell am I doing here, man? I'm screaming.
You're 5 books in, I think, right? Are we 5 books in at this point?
We're 4 books in. Four novels, right?
4 released novels. What about the first one? Are we there? No.
So at that point, I'd written Fun's Monsters, The Last Bad Job, What Smiled at Him, and Another Broken Wizard. Right. And I was screaming into a void, and I said, what the hell am I doing?
You're pissed right now.
And I'm extremely frustrated.
First of all, just the diligence and the determination alone. That's why I say hardest working man in the literary business, because that and then have nothing. Having like these kind of small nibbles is more than a lot of people get, actually.
Yeah,
in general. So,
and little moments of encouragement
keeps you going, right?
Yeah,
but keep hope alive is tough.
That's part of it. I mean, there's hope and there's determination, but I think we can't overlook the joy of working.
Yeah.
The joy of working is the thing that sustains me as a writer, and I think that it sustains a lot of writers, because it's going to be a lot of failure and rejection. It's going to be mostly that.
Yeah.
And so if you don't enjoy the work, and I'm not saying you enjoy it from the moment you sit down, but if you don't find, sometimes you have to labor through a couple pages before it really clicks.
George R. Martin, I think that guy said, "I do not enjoy writing. I enjoy having written."
See, I wouldn't say that. See, I've heard that. It's not like I look at a stack of paper and I say, "Oh, I'm happy now." It's in the process. For me, it's in the process. Yeah. So there's a joy to be found there that can be found nowhere else. And the way that I explained it once,
family companionship. That's great.
That's important.
That's cool.
No, you have to have a lot of different sources of happiness in your life.
Sure.
If you rely on one, you're gonna go. It's gonna go badly.
Is that why I'm pissed off all the time? I only have one source. Well, 2 if you count whiskey.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right. So yes.
But I always say, writing, at least for me, it's like, imagine, and this is a very self-flattering analogy. Yeah. Imagine you're a thoroughbred horse who lives in an apartment building.
Okay.
And like every once in a while you get to run and like really run, really open it up.
Book, yeah.
Yeah.
You're in Grand Central, you're like,
yeah,
moving.
Yeah, the rest of the time, like your thoughts, what you can say, you're just like, you're kind of dealing with like this person, and you want to be polite, and you have to kind of hold it back a little, and it's a place where you can really run.
Right.
And
great analogy, though.
Yeah. So that for me is always what sustained me, which is not to say that I was not extremely angry, extremely frustrated, and at that point, slightly bitter.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's the danger zone.
That is the biggest
in life, but also in art.
That's what kills writers. That's what kills people is bitterness.
I mean, I don't want to even bring Fitzgerald into it, but he that's where he was at when the heart attack came for him. We've already outlived him, which is scary to think about.
Yeah.
But at that time, if you read his letters, he's just like, what's the point? Like, there's no, I could do this. Yeah, I'm making this money, and Zelda's in the insane asylum, and and he just and he's like banged his secretary. He's just like, okay, Sheila Graham, I think her name.
Okay.
And yeah, he was just, that was it.
Yeah.
And, same thing with old Hems too. Bring him back in. His last letters. I mean, he had the 2 plane crashes, messed up his head. If you read his letters at the end, it's just about tax things he owes and calculations and charts about money and who's stealing from me. And I think the FBI is listening, which by the way they were.
Okay.
So it wasn't that crazy. So, but yeah, so that's the that's the ice water. That's where you put the whiskey when you're into it.
I'm going to drink the water out so that the ice is alone in the glass with the whiskey.
There's more ice too, so that's
I'm good.
Plenty of that.
I have
anything else, please. We got plenty of stuff over here. But anyways, yeah. So that's just that's when everything goes to shit. So this is around the time. So it's 2010, 2011. And this is around when you meet your girlfriend, right?
No, I mean that's a whole parallel story. I met Samantha in 2007.
You met her.
I met her, and we dated for about 3 years before we got married in 2010.
Okay, so she's along for the ride during this, but which is that's a nice kind of, not to get too personal, but like that's a nice buoy where it's like, okay, well, love life. It's here, and the writing life, it's getting a little. When did you finally go, you know what, fuck this, I'm self-publishing, I'm going, I cannot deal with the world as it is?
Well, I think some of it was in a lot of ways the technology that allowed me to. This is 2011 is when the Kindle is out, and so you had the ability to self-publish a book to an audience of millions for very little cost.
Yeah.
And I was reading at the time. There were a lot of writers who were doing it, mostly in genre. Genre writers
were the jump.
Yep, they were the jump.
The jump. The horror, the supernatural, the science fiction, the romance, the western. Those guys.
Thrillers, things like that.
And those guys are everything, by the way. Like the horror of being labeled under the G. Genre.
Yeah.
God, what a crime.
No, but they were very aggressive, and they tried all kinds of things, and you talk about sharing information. They were all over it with the blogs. There was a guy by the name of J.A. Conrath who was the leader, and he was like, here's how you do it. Here's what you do. If you want to find more readers, you can do these giveaways. You can do this, that. You can do the other.
You became a master. I see this stuff over the years, and I'm going, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, well,
does it even work? And we'll get into that.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question.
Get through your Uber. So when you're like, okay, technology changes, and you say, you know what? Oh, by the way, cheers. Nice. Yeah, this is a drinking program.
Cheers, man.
It's a drinking program. Just so you guys know, you at home can now go ahead and crack open your Williams.
Drinking in Williamsburg in the afternoon?
Hey, is that what time it is? I don't even know.
Oh, man, this takes me back.
I know, the Vila Borghese. I mean, Jesus, what are we doing here? Might as well. Might be 2009 having Lachad Moore parties over here.
Tastes good in the afternoon.
Oh, man. See, it's actually better, I think. It tastes better actually in the afternoon, yeah. All right, so you switch over and you say, fuck it. Well, you know what? I'm firing all 4 cylinders.
I say I can do this. I can fucking do this. It's not that hard.
Yeah. You got a full-time job at this point.
I do. I had a
full-time job, full-time girlfriend.
Full-time? No, at that point I was married. So I married in 2010. So we were married.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Full-time relationship, full-time.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, and that's. But that's that's the reason we got married, was that she was not the reason, but I had obviously dated, and not everybody has the same attitude toward it, because writing it's a big part of your mind. It's a big part of your emotional life. Seriously, it's not easy, and so but she was I think if you're gonna marry somebody, you don't ever want to marry someone who tolerates your eccentricity. You want someone who's excited about your eccentricity.
See, that's such great advice right there, guys. That's another one for the boys.
We're all getting older.
Man, fatherhood really turned you into a fucking wise man, and now you got a book of aphorisms. It's like,
oh, I know.
He's going all the way, man.
All the way. Forget about it.
Full Buddha at this point. This is where it's at now.
Get me my robe and my walking stick.
I'm gonna put you by the riverside, and you're gonna be doing good here. So you say, all right, so what, I can do this.
I said I can do this. So at the time I needed, again, a book is just paper with words and a cover. So I had a friend who did a cover design for me. And so I did the ebook and I did the paperback. And
what was the first one you threw out?
That was Another Broken Wizard. I wanted that book out there. I was so excited.
I have that signed copy somewhere in this fucking.
Yeah, it's a limited edition.
It is here. It is here in this house.
But I was really excited about it, and I went out and I got reviews, and I read the blogs, and I tried every little hustle they had, and
so you're writing probably an hour a day plus relationship plus.
Yeah. Well, at the time, in all fairness,
I want to know about
because that's the thing is. I had a very easy job at the time. I was very lucky. I had a job working for people in Illinois who didn't really know what went into being an editor.
Okay.
And I've always worked very quickly. I had a lot of time.
And you're getting paid.
And I'm getting paid, so I have a salary. And I have time, which is a position that is increasingly rare. So, yeah. So. You have to be clever.
Feeling lazier and lazier during this entire podcast. In fact, by the time this podcast is over, this will be our last podcast, guys. Devante is jumping into the river right after. Well, no, I'm going to go to work, but all right, after the bar shift, then I'll. So, anyways.
So yes, so I went out and I hustled. I got the book out.
But in your day though, so so you've got time. So let's say you just got so there's your 8-hour day. Like you got time for that job. But when you come home.
Oh no, I was working from home, so I had even more time. Yeah.
But then your lady comes home.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now they want attention, and it's like how do you navigate between, because again, this is something I've had a problem with, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners who are writers had a problem with, is that they got the job, they do that. Okay, you got to make money, and most of the time, aspiring writers have a job that has nothing to do with writing.
Yeah.
So all right, so they got that. Then maybe they do have a girlfriend if they're lucky, or boyfriend, whatever. And they want to spend time with them because obviously they're humans and they have needs and feelings and such things like this. And that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Okay, now how much time would you carve out specifically for putting words on paper?
Well, again, I think this is where I mentioned having a monthly deadline instead of a weekly or a daily.
Ooh.
And that way you just have flexibility, and not only that, especially now with 2 children, it comes down to scheduling. It comes down to I am feeling the pinch. I'm behind my deadline. I need time. And then she says, oh, okay, well, we're going to go see Miriam's friends, and I'll bring Walter, and you'll have a little time here. And so,
great names, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I really like those.
So
basically, you're my hero.
Did
it. He took first place finally. Some other competitors for a little while there, but they all let me down.
Oh, shucks. So a lot of it is communication. You just gotta talk it through. The main challenge I have is just the emotional tenor, because when I'm writing, you go to a different place, and so she would come home from work, and I'd be there writing, and I'd be like a feral animal, like a hissing cat. So making that transition to a more sociable human emotional state.
So one of it's time and being considerate of your own time. Second is a compatible mate if people are not deciding to be total loners.
Yep.
Compatible mate.
Yep. And this is
and a good deadline that gives you enough freedom to not anxiety yourself to death.
Yep. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So where are we now? So now, but how much time now does, on top of all those things, does the self-promotion come into play?
Well, that's the thing, is that it's self-promotion is very time-consuming, and it's not always very rewarding. Sometimes it can make you feel rather lousy. You're going around to the whole world, hat in hand.
Yeah, you're like,
hey guys, have you checked out my book?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, hey, it's me again. I just wanted to knock. You guys see my book? Do
you guys like me?
you guys, because I put it on Facebook, and you guys only.
I only got 13 likes. Just checking.
Yeah, and like 12 of them were my mom's friends.
Right, exactly. They're family members.
So it's
writing.
So I think that's been something that I've had to deal with is just how to balance it, and it's a matter of how much time can I really devote to it without becoming a nasty, bitter person.
Okay, right.
And also, what kinds of self-promotion don't make me feel terrible.
Right.
So it's not, I don't do my marketing like Pepsi does, where it's like, let's do everything all the time at all costs. I have to sort of think about all these other things, like what's going to have some effect, what's going to have some impact, when do I walk away?
And what resources do you use to try, where a person could try to find these kind of pieces of information about how one goes about it, especially now 10 years after you jumped into the mix? You don't have to be completely specific to like websites or whatever, but where did you find most of your information? I mean, obviously there was the blogs earlier on, the blogs time changed.
Well, I think it's a matter of research, and it's just, it's drilling down into Google on different topics, and then hopefully finding some people who are smart, who are out there, who are putting it out there. One woman I like is, I think her name is Catherine Ann Rush, and it's Rausch, and she has a blog where she really gets into the weeds. And it might be a little advanced for somebody starting out, but she's a very smart person, and she has a lot to say about it.
Wow.
But it's tough.
I mean, when you get into it, so at or around this time, you've now put out all of those first 4 or 5 books online.
So yeah, I did.
You did Kindle and paperback, correct?
Kindle and paperback. I did Another Broken Wizard in 2011, and then I did The Last Bad Job and What Smiled at Him in 2012. I did them within about a month of each other.
Okay, right. So bam. So now you're putting it out. Now, right after that, Another Broken Wizard, you move into what novel now? After
I finished that, so I finished that, and that's when I got married.
Okay.
And so getting married was it's a stressful time. It's a busy time. It's
been there.
Yeah. And so I didn't feel like I had the sustained mental energy to really work on it, on anything. So what I did was I took all the poems that I had written over the last 10 years, and I went back and I gave them all an edit. And so
all the poems.
I went
so
back.
Like, all right, I'm not going to go into this the novel thing again. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go full.
I said I have 10 years of poems here. I know.
They deserve to be out.
It wasn't that. I don't even know if I put them out right away. I said I know for a fact that some of them are fantastic, and I know for a fact that some of them are total rubbish.
Right.
And it was a thing where I just wanted to go in and narrow it down and work on them and get them in a place where I would never think about them again. And so,
isn't that a great feeling? I did that with Rivals of Morning. It was great to just take all the shit and just put it down, and you're just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, you put the stopper in the bottle.
This is it.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Bye, guys. The joy of that's the joy of finishing, like they were talking about, like that whole.
Yeah, or another Broken Wizard, all that stuff from Worcester in my childhood.
Yeah.
When I finished it, it was like, I don't have to think about this again.
Bye.
Yeah.
It's out there. It's online.
And it's also like it has no more, like whatever creative potency it had has all been bottled up, and I don't have to go there for that reason.
Yeah. And what was this tune called that when you finally put it, a tome, I should say, called it's
called Heaven Unbuilt.
Heaven Unbuilt. I think I have that too here.
Yeah. And that's a giant book.
It's a lot of fucking poetry.
It's a lot of poetry.
And that's when you and I decided to go and rent that table and hit the Governor's Island Poetry.
Oh, that was fantastic. Yeah.
Which we did it twice. Yep. I have to say that the first time was a hell of a lot more fun. I liked the second time. The second time was a little. I wasn't in a healthy place.
Yep.
First time we did it though,
we just got wrecked at a folding table.
It was amazing. We were like the most gangster table. Everyone was trying really hard. We had we had like a tape playing radio.
Oh yeah, and the only person we really tried to sell a book to was that convict.
Yeah, right. It was a
with like wolf eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like he was definitely had been doing speed for about 13 years straight, and
for some reason we really wanted to hang out with that guy.
Yeah. And we'd be right back in 3, 2, 1. Don't you touch that.
But it's hard. It's hard. You go to these agent websites and they're like, sure, send us your book and then we'll all get rich. And it's like, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. And by the way, if you do find somebody that you like, and you do have a nice relationship, then that's really a great thing. You're still working with us later?
No. We tried 2 books together. We didn't get anywhere, and then we parted ways. Yeah.
And what 2 books were those? Because those are later.
Yep. We tried to sell Watershed, which
I read, which is awesome.
Came out in 2017. Yep. And then we tried to sell another book called Vice Nimrod Communications.
I don't have that one.
No, that one I didn't publish. That one is it's kind of a literary work. That one I had a lot of success getting pieces of it published as short stories.
No shit.
Yeah, but it's sort of a literary book, and then I just never published it. Yeah.
Wow, I have a lot of your books here.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. But all right, so do we cover every title that you've had now?
No.
I'm a great interviewer. I have all my notes here.
No, we're at about 2012 when I put out What Smiled at Him and Last Bad Job, and
I think we're missing one.
We're missing a couple.
Okay. But so the next novel after that.
The next novel after that was Windfall, and Windfall
right.
That was 2014, early in the year. I, at that point, had a god-awful job working in Jersey City. I was getting...
You're living in South Brooklyn at this point?
South Brooklyn at that point.
Think about that.
It's an hour...
commute is insane.
It's an hour and a half, 2 different train systems, and then all to be in Jersey City, and which is
a fantastic... Actually, it's come a long way, but I hear it.
I did not want to be there. Every day, I was like the cat being dragged into the vet's office. Right. It's like digging...
It was nail marks on the subway.
I was very unhappy. Yeah. And so I think I invested that book with a lot more daydreams. Like, this is the book. This is the one that's going to get me out of this terrible mess. Yeah. And
title is great.
Windfall. Yeah, no, it's a commercial book. It's kind of a thriller, and I was very excited about it, and I invested it with a lot of daydreams, because you sort of have to when you're writing a book. You do run on hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the problem is with daydreams is that they come with a bill. And when
at the end of it, you're like,
when you have to pay that bill.
Who has to pay this?
I have to pay it. Oh my God! All these.
What did I do wrong in my life?
All these highly specific hopes are not coming true, and I find out now. Yeah. So that out of the gate didn't sell. So it didn't sell as much as I needed it to sell.
You can track your sales now.
You can track it minute by minute.
Because you are all right. So what? So when you're tracking your sales, when you say I'm tracking my sales, you're tracking it because you're selling it through Amazon. Any other outlets you're selling things on?
Lately, with paperbacks especially, I've been doing it more through Ingram.
Really?
Yeah, Ingram.
I don't even know anything about this.
Ingram is a distributor, and they have a print-on-demand solution, which allows you a lot of different ways to print in terms of.
Ingram, you should give them a cut because we're actually promoting your shit.
Yeah, so. You have more options in terms of paper quality.
Brought to you by Ingram.
Cover design, things like that. Also, I think you get a slightly better cut, and you can distribute through more places than through Amazon's paperback option, but it is expensive. It costs at least you have to pay up front. You don't have to pay up front for every copy, but you do have to pay like a setup fee, and then if you change it, there's a change fee. So Amazon is free on all those in all those regards. So.
But you get less money. Like
it's comparable per book. It's comparable, I would say. Yeah.
You think?
Well, this is the thing: is Amazon. Their self-publishing platforms give you a really healthy cut compared to anything else that's out there.
So you're saying Amazon, despite all the hatred towards them, they actually do...
I'm speaking about a specific experience with one arm of Amazon's overall business.
One arm of it, and that's the self-publish with us.
Yeah.
Which they changed into
KDP, Kindle.
KDP, right?
Yep,
That's
Kindle
what they
Direct
changed
Publishing,
it to, yeah.
and I think you still get 70%, which is
pretty darn good.
That's a lot better than you get if you sign with a publisher.
I mean, when I sell Rivals of Morning, I just ordered another 25 copies. You can do author copies of it. So let's say you charge $10 like I do. I order all my copies for $2 a piece.
Yep.
And sell it for $10.
It's great.
And so then you're doing fine. So if you want to do it hand to mouth like that,
it's really good. You can do small quantities.
Or whatever,
And that's the thing is that technology opened up a lot of new possibilities.
Right.
But so I did that with Windfall in 2014, and that didn't sell. And I'm in Jersey City, and then I start I just start to see double. I had to go lay in a dark room for 2 days. It was really that was rough.
This is 2014, 15?
2014. Yep, and then.
Is this like depression time? Is this it?
There was some depression.
Dark moments.
I was depressed and I was angry and I hated going to Jersey City, and I hated what my life became. I hated.
You had a good lady, but
I had a good lady, and we had a nice, a nice home life, and. This is also when we left Williamsburg because our delightful landlord raised the rent by $525 a month.
Fucking total douchebag.
Just a wonderful guy. And
fuck you, landlords. My landlord's pretty dope. That's what we told.
Well, there's some landlords who are human beings with normal.
The KTCR studios.
Yeah, there are some good ones out there, but so. It was just a hard time. It was a hard time.
Sounds like it's like that's a tough racket. And you're on book. This is book.
That's book 5, I think.
Yeah,
book 5.
Right.
Then Samantha gets pregnant.
Here we go. Strap in, guys.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's great.
Including your life. I mean, your life is in Jersey City, and here we go. We've got a child on the way.
Oh yeah. So we got a child on the way. We got. I get a new job from which I get fired after 11 weeks.
Fuck yeah! This is well.
And somewhere.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah. Somewhere in there, I finish another book.
Which one was that one?
That one's Watershed.
Okay, so you get that one going.
Yep. And so that one's done. I get an agent for that one.
Okay, so all right, now how did you?
Let's talk about that. Yeah, because this was an agent I found through a very odd means. This agent was. Now,
this is your 4th agent you're dealing with.
I had another one in there because I did a graphic novel and I had an agent for that.
So 5. Okay, cool. So five agents we're at.
Something like that. It's is this 4 or 5? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Point is, she's a lovely woman, and the reason that I found her is because she had a book blog and she very favorably reviewed The Last Bad Job a year or two earlier.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, it's this person. And then I kind of made the connection, and then I reached out to her, and that's how I ended up with her as an agent.
No shit. So basically it was again, going back to connections.
Yeah.
People. It's a people industry. And this woman's writing this blog. You reached out to her, and she says, I'm going to agree to represent this book.
Exactly.
And the book was Windfall.
Watershed.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's where you are now represented. Here we go. Kids on the way.
Yep. Yeah, it's all happening. All right. So she didn't sell it.
Okay.
Long story short, very nice woman, but didn't sell it.
All right.
And in the meanwhile, I was working on another book.
And the next one is?
The next one is Vice Nimrod Communications.
Which you didn't release because I was like, I never heard of it.
Yeah, it's a literary book. I'm not sure exactly why I didn't. I think it's hard enough to sell a book with commercial appeal. Never mind a book that has less commercial appeal. Vice Nimrod Communications is about the Tower of Babel.
Okay.
And it's not really plot driven. It's more character and atmospheric.
That's awesome. That's fantastic, though. I love the title. I love the idea. I mean, this is fascinating stuff. Yeah,
and it's sort of about trying to make a life inside a corporate hierarchy and all the pathos that goes with that. And I still love the book, and I got a lot of pieces of it published, but not the whole thing.
And then the next book, the following book?
The following book was Ms. Never.
Ms. Never, right, which again, I do not have a copy of this.
Oh my God, I wish you would told me. Yeah.
I'm going to go through all of them and just make sure I have all of them, and I'm going to do a whole reread of your entire oeuvre. I'm just going to take
I love it. Great.
And I'll be a real expert. I mean, I like how I'm going to do that after the interview. Should have done it. I should have done it before the interview.
Oh, it's fine, man. You watched Larry King. He never knows anything.
He's like, so you were born in Kentucky? It's like, no, I'm from France. Or like, he's like, well, same difference. I don't know. All right, whatever. Like, I keep talking. Right?
You're fine. You're in good company. But it's
I love that shit.
So that book, what did I do with that? I tried to sell. I tried to get an agent. I always try. I always make an effort. And
how many agents do you reach out to, like, in a time? Like, you got a manuscript. You think it's good enough. Do you have people, or so you got people you pay to edit, right? Well, because that's money.
Well, there's edit and there's proofread. So here's what I have. Is I have.
What does your team look like?
My team is I have smart people who are not literary people, and I give them the book, especially if they work in a field that's adjacent to some of the subjects in the book.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I have a couple friends who work in technology. I had them read the book because there was a technological angle.
Now there's beta reading, there's editing, and there's proofreading, right?
I would say that's a good way to put it.
Like, is that what it is? I'm still getting all my terms correct.
So beta reading is when you have a manuscript or most of a manuscript in an early stage, at least for me. Yeah. Some people will have beta readers read near final manuscripts, which sounds awful.
Yeah.
So I want these people to tell me, like, actually, no, the cops wouldn't do that. Actually, no, Congress wouldn't do that. Actually, no.
Like this one chapter, why did it skip a scene?
Yeah.
Just forgot to put it in or something?
Exactly. It's like a reality check. Yeah.
Like,
so
we've been living here in this planet, and a beta reader's going to get you.
So you're not one of those movies where people walk out and say, but why didn't they just call the cops?
Right.
Which would undo the...
Where was scene 54? Why did it just skip? Why did it jump cut to this other thing over here?
So that's beta readers. Yeah. And then some people hire editors. Now, editors go in and they say, like, oh, I think we need more of this character, or I feel like... the plot needs to turn a little more quickly in this place, or you need less detail around this. It's a lot more aesthetic. It's a lot more involved, and those people typically will charge you money, or they'll be working at a publishing company. Sometimes they'll be your agent. Some agents will do it, some won't. It's not consistent.
I paid one lady. It was through that famous guy who shall remain unnamed, but he's a total cocksucker. $7,000.
Yeah,
that was like for a 350-page book.
Okay.
And to get deep in.
Yeah.
And that's not a beta reader kind of thing.
That's an editor. That's an editor. Yeah.
And that's different from proofreading. Proofreaders are just people who are like, basically saying, okay, dot the T.
Well, they go through and they say, like, this sentence doesn't, this isn't a sentence.
Or editors.
You misspelled it.
Or, like, what would be the difference between...
Proofreaders are strictly on the surface. They say...
So everybody else can figure that out.
Your grammar is not right. Proofreader says, you used the wrong name in this sentence. You said Jim, you meant to say John.
Yeah, like, that's Martha, that's Mary over here.
Yeah. Right. And, and I work with some really good proofreaders who are...
And do you pay your team?
My team.
I like calling it a team.
Yeah.
Because you got your cover designer. You got your people you work with.
So the cover designer, yes. The cover, because he's a professional designer. It's his job. That's what he does. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I want his number.
Oh, he's great. I love. Yeah. Oh, Adam Lewin.
What is his name?
Adam Lewin. We all love you, Adam. You are very impressive.
Adam, I'm going to love you.
So, Adam is fantastic.
Let's get him on the podcast.
Right? The proofreaders, I pay because that's joyless work. The beta readers, no.
Because that's like friends.
That's friends, yeah. Yeah, and also it's people who get a little bit, who get a little bit of a kick out of it. They're not, like I said, they're not usually writers. So it's not like it's their professional domain.
They kind of dig being like a part of it.
I think they do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I, ask nicely. If they don't have time, that's fine.
And in my experience too, like I found if you get like when I was doing, I don't know, you were never any of my, I never gave you shit, right? You haven't really read anything in mine except for maybe short stories, probably.
I've read your shorts. No, that's not true. I read your first novel
Mika?
Years ago, Mika. Yeah.
You read Mika.
I read Mika. Yeah.
So what I did was like I took 5 people who were completely like somebody who hates books, someone who. A writer like you.
Yeah.
This, and this. And find different people and then see when they all come back to you what they say, because you're going to get 5 different opinions.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, did that happen to you before?
Of course.
So when you get to that point, when you're that insecure writer after getting the beta read, how do you translate these people's opinions?
Well, I think
who's right and wrong? You know what I mean? Like, it's really like, I don't know what this guy's.
One thing, I mean, in terms of criticism, it's very hard to manage. It can be very personal. You can get very emotional.
Yeah.
I try to depersonalize it as much as possible. I try to say I take the person away from the feedback, and I look at it and I sit quietly and with myself and I say, do they have a point? Sometimes they have a point. Sometimes they don't have a point.
But who makes that decision? You do.
Of course.
Comes down to you.
I mean, this is not a committee. There are people involved, but this is not a committee.
I know, that's kind of one good thing about being an author is like, well, this is, the buck stops here.
I work in a creative field. I work with creative quote unquote committees all day, and it's awful.
Because I think a writer can get lost in that. Okay, so I'll be honest. I got lost when I got 5 different impressions of Mika going, I think this guy's full of shit. Or maybe he didn't understand it.
No, you don't judge
No, you know what I mean though.
Like
I don't agree with this. Not full of shit, but just like I don't agree with this. And then you go, well, maybe they're right though. And then you start, and then the doubt.
I never think about the person. I never think about the person. I always think about what they said.
The critique doesn't those 5 different critiques, doesn't that get into your psyche, or you just found a way to just clear that path is what I'm trying to say. Like
I really by breaking it down, because everybody's going to give you feedback. You can break the feedback into specific points, and you say, is this a good point? And then maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe they don't like that your book is not another book. That's a lot of criticism.
They want you to be something else.
And that's not good criticism. They haven't made a good point. And so if they wanted it to be a different book and it's not that book, then you have a choice. You can make it more like the book they want, or you can make it very, very clear up front that this is not the book they want.
Yeah.
Like you can define yourself against it. So I never struggled with that.
That's guts.
I did creative writing classes, and I hated creative writing classes because, like, who is this joker trying to tell me something? Like, maybe the teacher, and maybe like
what do they know about it?
And maybe there's one kid in the class, but that's sort of where I learned how to deal with it. And then it gets even worse when you finish the book, because then you get actual critiques of the finished work, and that is, and that's where writers really break down, not all of them, but many, where they're like, oh, well, one day I'll go back and I'll rewrite my great work from 20 years ago. And it's like, what on earth are you doing?
No, you're so right on this. Yeah. Like the powering through, and that's why I really, I've had a couple of writers on this podcast already, and most of them have been at different stages. You officially are the most, and I say accomplished, not that these other people were not accomplished in what they were doing in whatever means they were doing, but you are by far the most accomplished in the sense of beginning, middle, and end of a book. And that's why it's great to pick your brain. No, that's why it's great to pick your brain on these notes, because of people who are listening, and I know that there's going to be writers who listen, because we're going to put this up on Literate Sunday, this interview, we're going to put this up, and we're going to talk about your new project, because we have time for that. But I think having people who need to hear this stuff, because I used that mountain metaphor before, like, not in the sense of like, oh, you're going to go find the magic on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
It's more that it's like being an adventurer. If you've never been to that height, you don't know what kind of gear to bring.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've never been up there.
Yeah.
So you get to like half up the mountain, and suddenly you're running out of oxygen, and you don't even know where you are.
You run out of rope.
Right?
Yeah.
But you've been up the mountain. You've been all the way to the top, and you've seen it, and then you've walked your way back down and started again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like I think that kind of doubt, as we were talking about, when you finish the book, and by that point you're saying you're impervious at this point.
No, you're not impervious. No, I mean,
are you impervious to like? So like if someone reads it, if I was to read it, be like, well, your finished manuscript.
Yeah.
It was okay, but this scene.
Oh my God! I mean, just
is it gonna hurt you at that point, or?
Of course,
really?
Yeah, of course.
You have feelings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just checking.
Yeah, sure, you go read your Amazon reviews or your Goodreads reviews. You know, man, on Amazon you get people who are mad at you and your book because your book isn't a toaster. You know, like it's crazy. You know, there's like a
you read your bad reviews?
I skim them. Okay. Yeah, same. And that's my rule. Is I don't.
The negative.
I don't savor them. Good or bad. I read them. You know, I'm like, okay, the guy. Yeah. Okay, maybe I did.
You're measured with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you kind of you move on. Yeah. But I think even in like bad reviews by morons, there is often a germ of something you can learn from. I'm not saying that critiques or reviews are the only thing you can learn from. In fact, I would say I would make them a very small part of your diet of things you can learn from.
You know, some maybe you can learn later.
Right? You know, you're supposed to have like a potassium pill every month, like that. You know, it's not. You know, it shouldn't be like the wheat group or whatever's on the food pyramid. It's like a little small thing, but it's good. It's good for you to take the potassium pill once in a while.
Jesus, yeah. I mean, I can only assume. I mean, I think a lot of writers actually, and I suffer from this in my writing mentor I talk to immensely, and I would love to get you guys together, Mark Zegans, who is amazing. He's a sort of a creative psychologist for creatives.
Oh, okay.
His specific thing that he does is dealing with artists, from painters to sculptors to primarily writers, poets and novelists and such, playwrights and screenplays. His job, which he gets paid for, which he makes a pretty good living.
That's great.
He lives in Northern California, is working with the psychology of the artist specifically, and how to get through these different things. And he says, and he diagnosed me once. He said, "Well, you suffer from the most classic problem. You're afraid to finish certain things because you're just afraid of that criticism that's going to happen." I said, "Well, I'm not scared of anything. I'm tough." It could be that, but also you might also fall in love with the characters and the smell of that idea. Like you fall in love, like you said, like when you finish something you have to put the stopper in the bottom. You kind of don't want to because you kind of love it.
Okay.
You love it there so much that you want it to never end.
Okay.
That initial inspiration. So I think it can go either way for writers. I mean, writers all have a million different problems, but just like regular humans. And then what would you say your biggest problem that you had to face, other than obviously you have the diligence, obviously you have the determination, obviously you have the strength to deal with criticism. We've gone through this in our last hour and 23 minutes of talking here. What would you say the biggest thing you had to overcome?
I think impatience and anger.
Because of what? I mean, you got the work done.
Yeah, I got the work done. It's a matter.
You got 8 books behind you, buddy.
So I mean, in some ways, impatience has served me well. In terms of,
I mean, is it a financial thing? Is it like a recognition thing? Is it like you want your name? You want to be James Patterson?
I think as I get older, that becomes less important.
Okay. So
I feel
you had that
when I'm younger. When I was young and I was living under the bridge and I was trying to impress women. I think that was really
très bohème.
Yeah, that was like like wouldn't it be great to be the famous guy under the bridge with the ladies coming in and
Trust
out?
Me, I wanted that too.
So that fame was important for that, and then I think later when I was getting my ass kicked by corporate America and having to work for a living, then I was like, oh my God, can I please just
get the fuck out of here?
Just a little bit of money so I can quit this awful job. Yeah. So it's the desire for those things. It runs inversely to how my life is going.
Right.
But ideally, fame is almost like a punishment. I think this is the world's worst time ever to be famous.
Never be famous now.
Oh my God! But I
want to cancel myself before anything.
Yeah, we want to look back at the old days with the ashtrays and the parties at the Paris Review when things were good, and you could say far out ridiculous stuff, and nobody would tweet it later. And I'm just saying, like these things that you think are institutions that can confer upon you some kind of status or security or stability or preserve your name as an artist, they will be gone in a moment. They will be gone, in 10 years. Who cares?
I was actually told.
What?
I was talking to somebody in publishing.
Yeah.
The other day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name her name, but she's awesome.
Okay.
She's a sweetheart.
Sure.
Lovely woman.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, what's the chances of me, just straight up, just as a white dude in America, getting published in anything? She's like, you should write nonfiction. That's what she told me.
Man.
Straight up. There are people who will look at the name of the writer and throw the thing out even before.
Yeah. I mean,
and this is the current state of stuff. And we'll get back to your last book.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that, of course, because,
But I'm going to warn you that down that road lies only bitterness, okay?
No. I'm not getting bitter.
And also, but like, look at, so this woman works for she's in publishing.
This woman
which means that most likely she works for the Bertelsmann Corporation. And like, I work in and around corporate America, and I see how decisions are made. It's not, you can't worry about that.
And I know you can't worry about that, and I don't want to discourage younger.
And if you don't like what she's saying to you, then go talk to somebody else, man.
And what I'm saying is that's good. It's just something that people need to understand. That straight up, I've heard this from not only just agents and people in publishing, that if you do not have a specific tone, this is only in America, by the way. And I mean, Britain still.
We're in a strange. Yeah.
Okay, France. Okay, they love writers. Okay?
Yeah.
Hands down.
I mean, look at
the press loves writers.
Hulbeck. Look at the career he's had in France. Yeah.
South Korea loves American writers.
Okay.
So if you're an American writer, just give up. And I'm telling. I shouldn't say this, and maybe Dodds will disagree. Just stop right now. Don't think about these institutions, like you said, these legacy institutions.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Just think. Reach out to the Spanish.
Okay,
right? Reach out to Spain.
Get translated.
Reach out to France.
But I guess, I mean, like, I feel like we can get overexcited about these things because I'm looking at your bookshelf. These are all writers who connected with you. You had a moment with them, and you are connected with them for life.
This is an international.
Okay, but what did that? It wasn't that you looked at the back and you said, "Oh, this is Bertelsmann Premium, Plus."
Right.
It's a personal thing, and you find your audience, you develop your audience. It takes a long time. I mean, there's a reason why most people get famous after they're dead, which is that it takes between a day and a month to read a book, and it takes between 10,000 and 1 million people who like you to make a career. So that's a lot of months. That's a lot of years. It's a lot of time.
This is something that you've cultivated.
I have, and that's why I make the hundreds of dollars that I make today.
I mean, so you're saying it hasn't necessarily going into self publishing has not been lucrative.
It is not. No. I think if I were ever going to break it down to how much I'm being paid per hour, I could have spent my money, my time more profitably. Yeah. But it's
certain books have sold better than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have still achieved the same or implemented the same promotional value in each book, right? Pretty much.
I think it's been a learning curve.
Okay.
And some of them I've done a better job of promoting than others.
Right.
I know kind of an interesting story about What Smiled at Him, where I really screwed the pooch.
Okay.
And that was a book that's really literary fiction.
Okay.
And it's about two guys who reconnect with a high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
They have a crazy drug-fueled night in Chicago. A couple weeks later, she's accused of killing her family.
Whoa.
So... But and they have all the means at their disposal to probably solve the crime, but they're ultimately too self-involved and self-obsessed and lost in their own bullshit to do it. So it's it's really literary fiction, and but at the time I was doing a giveaway. One of the great things if you're a self-published author is you can do giveaways, and one of the best places to do it is BookBub, which is the biggest one out there. BookBub, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And.
.com, you're saying?
Yep, and I had a chance.
KTCR brought to you.
I had a chance to sell it or do a giveaway to their literary fiction group.
Yeah.
Their list was big. It was like, 175,000.
That's pretty cool.
And that's where I sent it in. But then I heard from the BookBub guy, and he's like, this sounds like maybe you could pitch it as a mystery. And the mystery group is 400,000 people. Oh. So like a greedy schmuck idiot, I said, sure, let's do it. So it goes out. We haven't gotten to the turn yet.
Oh, okay.
The turn is
the turn.
I underestimated genre readers. If you're When we think about a genre,
all right.
I think as writers, too often we think about it too broadly compared to how the readers say, they think of a genre the way that you would think of a musical, which is like a little talk, big song, little talk, big song, little talk, big song, or like a porno back in the old days where it's like knock knock, I'm here to fix your chimney, banging, and then boom, oh my car broke down, banging. So so that's a genre. And the thing about genre readers is they have very clear expectations about what happens.
Advice. This again is great advice. This is unbelievable stuff.
So you can do anything you want. Like your musical can be about people with AIDS in the Lower East Side. It can be about the French Revolution. Yeah. But the musical has to adhere to the conventions of the genre.
The rules of the...
And so this book, especially because they didn't really solve the crime, really pissed these people off, and I got pilloried.
You gave it away for free to all these people
who then went on Amazon and destroyed it.
Christ.
Yeah,
holy shit.
And my only consolation was that it was my fault. Because I had marketed it to the wrong people. And so, and at that point, it's carrying around 2.5 stars around its neck, like, it's dead on, it's dead on arrival. So when it comes to
so many of these things people are not understanding, especially writers, not people, but writers, new writers are not thinking about it like this. See, so like, I don't see you falling into any kind of specific genre either. I mean, where would you put yourself if you had to put yourself into something? Where in the world would you put? I
struggle to put each book into a genre. Yeah, and this has been to my incredible detriment as a writer, because when you're building a career, the advice they give you is write in one genre, write a series, write, the Spencer books, or, A is for assault, or whatever those are.
Yeah, those
like,
books.
So that,
smart. Yeah.
You're branded, the reader knows what they're getting each time, and that's how you build an audience very predictably, and that's how you build a career.
Yeah.
And I've done almost the exact opposite of that. I have, I've gone through different genres, in and out, and that's because this is work of the heart, and you got to go where it leads you. I already have a day job. I don't need another day job. I'm not looking for another day job, and so I have not taken good advice on that front.
And I think what's interesting too is I think like the brands are brands, but even if you look at somebody, I guess someone could say Stephen King is a horror writer, but even when you look at his early stuff, I don't see him following any kind of. I think he would be gross out guy or something like this.
He really chafed. I mean, he chafed at even just being Stephen King. He wrote all those Richard Bachman books.
Right.
It's very, it's a tough one. And even now, you have people who their publishers tell them to write under a pseudonym if they're going to write in a different genre, just so that readers know what to expect.
I think, and that's what the dark side, another thing that I had to unfortunately learn was the dark side of writing is that it is a business. And it's just like anything else. And that kind of idea, because, most of us get into this craft because we love it. We did it as children. And we have this passion that that continual determinism. Everybody's an artist at 22. Are you an artist at 44?
Not bad.
I barely know. I can count on two hands most of the artists I know that are legit just done.
They really, they do drop out, and there is a period where it happens.
But you have not.
No.
And this is what fascinates me about you, is because the fact that you can, you defy everything that a person would be defeated at. You defy it.
Well, I think, some of that is, living with a healthy respect and a healthy fear of it. Getting married, I definitely always approach that with a lot of trepidation.
Sure, of course.
I had a very healthy respect for the way that it could destroy you as a person, where you have somebody in your house who you love very dearly, and you are given to understand that you are stealing from them with every moment that you spend working on something creative. Yep. That is a situation I never wanted to be in. And if I had not met the very specific person that I met, I don't know if I would have gotten married.
Well, the thing, you're right. So lack of, wild financial success. Okay, you're still writing. You didn't get wild financial success, but you're still writing.
Okay, yes, but wild financial success destroys as many writers as poverty does.
Okay, so then also, and like you brought up marriage.
So marriage, and then the next thing is children.
Children.
Yep, right.
Stop a writer.
Somebody said the pram in the hall is the great enemy to the novel.
Time, working a job, plus having a relationship, plus having kids. Time will stop a writer.
Yep. And
you've spit in the face of all this.
Well, yeah, and I don't think you're wrong to say spit in the face.
Out of total spite.
Out of spite. Well, I'm
take the E out of it.
I'm from Massachusetts,
right?
and these people, they think they know what it is to be angry, but no.
Oh, Jesus.
We're talking about the piece of Arctic ice that doesn't melt. It's there.
Yeah. I'm from Rhode Island. You and me were from the same thing, and I just was talking to somebody the other day, and I finally came to the conclusion that I spend most of my life, my resting place is mildly irritated. That's like the resting. That's like this is like waking up.
Yeah.
It's just I'm already
stasis.
Kind of mad, or I'm already pissed.
No, if you get
what? I don't know.
No, if you relax for 5 minutes, it's very disorienting.
It's all right, cool. This is and then there's something who's wow, it's fucking. You open your phone. There's news. You're oh well, this fucking guy.
Oh yeah, nonstop.
This guy.
Well, I became aware of it.
Shit.
It was during the pandemic.
New England, we just got this thing.
My son was an infant, and my wife was working, and I would take him out for these long walks in the stroller.
Yeah.
And God knows what's going to happen to this kid, because he had to listen to me talk to myself, pushing a stroller for hours. I'm like, I'll burn down a Chipotle. I'll burn down 100 Chipotles.
Chipotle's here. They used to be good back in the 90s, and now they fucking slack down.
Why don't you get a face to put over your ugly face? You're just always so crazy.
Somebody is walking too slow. Now they're walking too slow because they just moved here. And then, 20 years ago, this neighborhood was too dangerous. You couldn't walk slow.
Call that walking. That's not walking.
Yeah, you're just slumbering around because he's on the phone. Now everybody's got a fucking phone because people don't even talk to each other.
That stupid squirrel probably freeze to death.
Fucking squirrels. All right, squirrels cute, but whatever. Maybe they're just rats with big tails. I don't know.
So you just it's and that's good though. That's good because you talk about criticism, how that ruins writers. It's because people don't know how to say fuck you.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? You might have a good point. You might be very smart. Yeah. You might be very accomplished. But fuck you.
Yeah.
The great thing about fuck you is that it's an unqualified statement. You can say fuck you a little or fuck you on certain points, but it doesn't really roll off. Just fuck you entirely.
Yeah. See, I was raised on fuck you, so I just kind of I hear it and I go, he's got a point. You should be honest with me and just tell me what's wrong. And I think the one thing that gets me about some of these early writers, and I have a lot of friends who are this, is this. It's the ego before they even get into this mess.
Sure.
I've heard it, and
well, you need an ego. You need an ego.
No. You need 100%. You need an ego.
These are all illusions, but a lot of them you really need in order to progress.
You need to be because already people are well, I don't want to be a writer because I don't have anything to say. No, I'm not arrogant enough to think I have something to say.
So why did you tell me? Why did you tell me that? If you just told me something, you said you have nothing to say. Why are you talking to me?
Just tell me that because then why you even open your mouth and walk around the streets?
I hate false modesty.
Right. So there's that. Right?
Yeah.
Second, I remember, I was trying to help some other. For years, I'm always trying to lend the hand of writers. Not that I'm somebody who's a fucking accomplished anything, but I say, hey, all right, what do you want to do? And they're I fucking want to write. I said, well, that's great. Welcome to the club. Let's get into this shit. And
you've always been great about encouraging everybody.
Sunday, it's just let's get into this. Let's fuck around. And hence, going back to our earlier bitching, or my earlier bitching moment about the names and taking the names off the writing and then proving it.
Yeah.
Are you any good without your name?
Exactly.
So you don't need to know who I am.
Yeah.
On that, but my writing is that good that maybe. The beauty, I think, for me personally, to be success would be a Picasso painting. If you you don't need to put Picasso's name on his paintings.
Yep. You
don't need to put Van Gogh's name on a Van Gogh painting.
It hits you across the room.
And this is what I'm saying. So when you say that you can't be marketed, right? I think an agent for you who, if they were smart, would be, I'm marketing the man.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And again, this is some dumbass advice because what do I know about anything?
Well, that's the way. Yeah.
But it'd be no, I'm marketing Dodds.
Okay.
Because Dodds is going to come at you with a couple different things, and that because you have enough of an Uber to go. It's going to be in this ballpark.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely in a ballpark. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everything I've read from you, other than Another Broken Wizard, which is very grounded.
Yeah. The other ones are more imaginative.
No, but there's a lot of imaginary. Not imagine. I don't want to say imaginary fiction, but there's a lot of interesting mixing of genres within your own genre, and so if that genre can be Colin Dodds,
sure.
To me, and maybe even nowadays, that's why I wanted you on this thing, because this is just another feather in your cap. You know what I mean? When this comes out, you promote the fuck out of this.
Yeah.
And here's these people learning about who you are finally. So instead of people you go into them, when they come to you, they say, oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe they'll hear the real man speak for himself. You know? And so, like, after Miss Never...
Some will, some won't.
Some will, some won't.
Yeah.
After Miss Never, you move into... What's the next one?
So the next one is a book called Super Sudden Nova Ferroni. And
you did not release this yet.
No. This book is it's very, very new. And I was on the fence about whether to release this or to put out Forget This Good Thing I Just Said.
Which I think is a brilliant project.
Yeah, and it's a very personal book. It's about writing. It's about artistic ambition.
So would you say it's kind of a memoir?
No, because it all hinges on the resurrection of somebody.
See, you always got the twist. Like, you've got like 4 novels in one novel.
That's the thing But anyway, but the thing that I did decide to come out with was Forget This Good Thing I Just Said. And that is, it's a book, it's an app, it's a new kind of reading experience, and it's essentially a collection of 900 original aphorisms that are sorted through by the technology and random number generators in order to create a new experience every time you read it on your phone.
All right, because that's a mouthful.
I know.
I'm looking at this now, and it's a bookmark. It says, Forget This Good Thing I Just Said, which is a fantastic title.
Thank you.
And this is really you thinking outside the box here.
Yeah.
Because you're right. People don't read with 19th century eyes, 20th century eyes. They're in the 21st century eyes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are going to relate to literature in a completely different way. And I think this is an interesting way and actually a very, very astute way of doing it, even if it's just for aphorisms. And these are all, how many did you write in total?
In total, I mean, about 900, I think.
900 of these? Okay.
I know the number because I had to drop them into an Excel spreadsheet to work with the developer on it. So.
Okay, so I'm looking at this bookmark. It says, Forget This Good Thing I Just Said. And there's what do they call these? The QE codes?
QR code.
QR codes. All right, cool. Yeah, it could show how savvy I am. But and so it says a book ? An app ? A fortune teller ? A conversation ? See, so this to me is great. So when someone someone puts on this phone, like I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
Let's do this in real time, guys.
Let's do it in real time because it's.
Because this is a great way for me to learn, and in fact, I actually didn't want to do it until you got it.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so I can learn too.
I have it on my phone, and I was on a Zoom reading the other day, and I had to read it. And
all right, so I just did it on my phone. I used the QR code. Most of you youngsters know all this. And it says, Forget This Good Thing I Said, Matthew Dublin. Now, what is Matthew Dublin?
Matthew Dublin is the co-creator of this. He is the developer. He's a software developer. Okay. He is also a musician, a filmmaker. He makes furniture. He is one of my oldest, dearest friends going back to high school. And he's just an all-around brilliant guy. I made 2 short films with Matt.
Oh wow! So this is a serious.
Yeah. So we've collaborated in the past, and he's somebody I respect immensely, and who's just incredibly talented. And this is his latest talent.
And so this is the one I got. Why is absolutely everything still under consideration? I thought it was late. So how do I go through these?
You swipe to the left or the right, and
I can swipe. You can swipe to the left or the right,
and it's totally random.
And so there are 900 random aphorisms that you wrote. But
yes.
But this gentleman, Matthew Dublin, invented.
Well, he did all the software development. So it's the reason why it lives on your iPhone.
Okay, so then people have to. So only iPhone users can use it.
We are developing an Android version, but it's going to take a little while.
It's going to take a bit. Okay.
Yep.
So
there is though.
Is it totally free?
It's totally free, and I want to note that it collects no data.
Yes, let's definitely tell.
Because when things are free, it's reason to get suspicious nowadays. Yeah, and there's also a book version which is for sale on Amazon. So.
Ooh, that's even better. That's fantastic.
I brought you a copy. So.
What?
Yep.
You fucking angel.
All
right, so I've got The Professionals in Flame and Ancient Hurt. You see a salesman do it, you start to despise the artist. It's true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. The Professionals in Flame and Ancient Hurt. You see a salesman do it, and you start to despise the artist. That's so fucking smart.
Thanks, man.
I love that. Oh my God, this is so fun.
Well, that's you're getting good ones. I was at a reading day, a reading the other day.
Yeah.
And I had to, and I said, well, what the heck? I'll read a couple from the app. And first one I get is all about tumors, and I was like, fuck.
Jesus Christ.
But it's my.
Well, I like when it says fortune teller, because I just got grabbing at a hand from a passing train. I never guessed that would become a fantasy of stability, but here we are. That is like, those, all three of those are perfect.
There you go. That was it. Yeah.
That truly defined who I am as a person.
And the fortune telling idea was, just think about randomness.
No, you nailed it.
Oh, thanks, man.
I used to play this game with my poetry book where I was like, oh yeah, don't read them in order. Like, put your finger through, or like just look at the table of contents and whatever title. Yeah. Because most of the time the titles wouldn't even reflect what was in the poem. Mm-hmm. But then it was like, whatever you gravitate to, that means something about your life.
It'll find you.
Way more interesting. And tonight at my bar, I'm actually going to take a couple of these before we really promote it.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to do a beta promotion.
Awesome. Yeah, hand them out,
This is where the hell did you get this idea?
So this idea, it came, first was the idea to do a book of aphorisms, which is cool, which felt totally absurd when I came up with it. It is absurd,
and because then you're wearing the Buddhist.
Oh yeah.
You're wearing the robe of.
Or I'm like some English gentleman in 1830 or something. It's like it's a strange genre.
Basically.
Yeah. So there was that, and then the idea to make it into an app. That came from talking with my friend Matt through the pandemic. Just we were going back and forth. We had this idea, that idea. And then the aphorism book was starting to come together, and then there was the thing that catalyzed it. And I hope I'm not going to get sued for saying this. Was Brian Eno.
Brian's a good guy.
Brian Eno had something in the 70s called Oblique Strategies, and it was a deck of cards, and each card on its back had like a strategy, which was like. And it was a strategy to be used in a music studio if you hit a dead end. And they would be things like listen to the music through a door, or make the loud part soft and the soft part loud. And so the idea was you're in the studio, every minute is costing money, and you are screwed creatively. You need a bolt from the blue, and this was your bolt from the blue. And he developed that into an app, which was all randomized and all very simple text. And that's kind of what drew all these ideas together.
I don't think, you're not going to get sued for that. It's fine. But because what this goes back to, and probably what Eno was trying to get to, and also goes back to being writers, is the idea of not just the automatic writing, but the cut-up method that Burroughs.
Sure, that's a huge. Yeah.
And I think I'm saying it right.
Byron Geisen.
Byron Geisen, right?
Yep.
And those two came up with the idea that you could cut up magazines or newspapers and rework and paste them in a different way, and you could actually see. They thought, some people thought, oh, what a fun parlor game.
Yeah.
These guys were so high that they thought that they were actually tapping into
like the collective unconscious, or
and I actually, and I'm not really much of a hippie, but I believe in that shit. So
they're not alone. Carl Jung's idea of synchronicity.
I believe in all that stuff, like all that shit. I'm 100%. Even though I'm very much a realist, I think that's realism.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing with this here is really playing into that. And what I think is even better, and I'll talk to you after we're done with the podcast, is that I've got a shitload of great ideas that can be incorporated into this kind of thing.
Oh, I'd love to hear them.
No, and especially I want to talk to your friend because because as we move on into this new blind century, that people are not going to relate, like you said, to the books in the bookshelf. These are, could be album covers for all it could be.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, and I think it's impressive how resistant books and bookstores have been to the digital tsunami. Look what happened to the music industry was destroyed. It was destroyed.
And now records have finally actually made the most money it's made since records were done. I don't know if you knew about that.
That's right.
Sold, Before COVID, I think it was the year before COVID.
So it's coming back, but I feel like books have held up remarkably well compared to other forms of media.
And if you look on the subway in New York City, you see readers.
There's readers. Yeah, not as many, but yeah.
The thing is that, and we can conclude this part one of Colin Dodds interviews, because definitely you got to be a returning contender. In fact, I kind of I'm starting to open up Kill the Cat to having two people on.
Oh, okay.
About this little guy.
Okay.
It's got the 5 stars.
Sure, man.
Multiple different things going on.
I love it.
And there's another guy that you need to meet. Another Burroughs, Richard Burroughs.
Okay.
Gentleman from New Jersey. And
I'd love to.
He just released a memoir called So Boom, Check It. And it's all about him growing up as a young African-American gentleman in New York City in the DJ world of the early 90s and such. But he is also as inventive and forward-thinking as you are. And it would be great to have two of you on this kind of thing.
No, and I think there's more potential to use technology for something other than stealing people's information and robbing them of their lives. Yeah.
And people just, if they don't consume in the same way, fine.
Yeah.
So be it. All right. But people want to hear stories, and I don't care how they want to hear it. That's why I started a podcast. That's why I started reading my short stories for the Happiness Machine.
And those are great. Yeah, I really like those.
Did you listen to any of those?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So having that kind of interactive stuff, and that's just getting to. I think. Yeah.
It's an opportunity. You can't get lost in nostalgia. You sort of have to,
And people can just Google it. It's like when they listen, they can just say, "Forget this good thing I just said."
Yep. Or it's forgetthisgoodthing.com.
Okay, forgetthisgoodthing.com, and that's Colin Dodds.
Yep.
Colin, having you on this thing, fucking great, man. It's fucking great to have you here.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
That's it for this week. Join us next Friday. I'll be releasing our next podcast from the beautiful city of Paris, France. Luck has shined upon me. Maybe it's just one of my 9 lives. This is KTCR, Kill the Cat Radio, signing off. Good luck out there, and keep curious.